It's 4 minutes past 5, WTIC. Good afternoon. I am Ray Dunaway. Doing it today, tomorrow. It's a special deluxe edition of Computer Talk with Tab. Anyway, we're here, traffic and weather. We'll get back to the usual routine. Broke for an hour, and of course that was because we had the gubernatorial debate. One of the people noticeably absent was Joe Visconti, who's running for, I guess you're a petitioning candidate. What are you?
I'm a petitioning candidate, that's right. That's how it works. The people nominated me, Ray. What happens is if you don't run with the party, there's a provision in the state elections where you gather signatures, 7,500. We gathered over 10,000, and you're nominated by the people. And you run on your own name, and it's called petitioning, like a prayer.
Sadly, you were, because I guess the rule was you had to have more than 10%. You had 9%, so that's why you weren't there. But
in the debates, yeah.
But we should mention that you are going to be, when's your NBC 30 thing?
NBC 30 will be October 23rd, but CPTV and in London Day, that'll be October 16th at 7 p.m. That's going to be all three of us will be at that debate. Right now at the NBC, we're not sure if Tom Foley's going to show up. They're at an impasse, whatever that means.
Okay, it's fine. Well, okay, you were out in the parking lot listening.
Yeah, I was just listening. I'm never at a loss for words, but I was at a loss for words. I mean, the governor definitely played every emotional card and over the top. He knows what he's doing. Tom couldn't fight back. Tom's a good guy, but he just didn't have it in him to answer some of these tough questions with data and information. And I think this is why he's having a hard time, and he's letting the governor back in the race.
Oh, I think, and he certainly has. And of course, I think yesterday was it? He said, with the new Q poll out, he said, "Well, no, I was never up that high anyway. I was never."
Again, I like Tom, and I say that because I do. There's a lot of people.
He's a nice man
right now that are, and he's a good guy. and He has good intentions. But to win this race, you're going to not only need a fighter, but you're going to need to provide details. This is what I've heard, Ray, on the street. For 18 months I've been in the race, and people want to know, well, what's the path? What are we doing? Is there a deficit? Where are we going? Tom's slogan, new direction, but no plans. And the governor is just going to continue, reinforce. I did this, I did that. It was not my fault. Rel did it. Well, the state Democrat legislature, remember that, folks? They overrode Jody Rel, okay? They run the show down there.
I mean, I got to say, Jody was not necessarily a deep discounter, if you know what I mean.
No, but she couldn't fight it anymore. And the reality is she probably got worn out by the Democrat, I'll say it again, Democrat-dominated state House and state Senate that did this to us, okay?
By the way,
it's their fault.
If you,
Governor Malloy.
If you guys would like to take the role of the questioners in the debate and ask something of Joe Visconti, you certainly may. It's 800-966-WTIC, 522-WTIC, star WTIC. The one thing, here's in one moment I remember is Tom Foley. Remember back when Hillary was running at Rick Lazio?
Yes.
And he wanted her to sign a contract promising not to do this or not to do that. Well, you heard Foley try and do the same thing.
It's a sign of weakness. You don't do that when you're the challenger. You don't ask for a truce. You don't wave the white flag for crying out loud. People are losing their homes, they're losing their jobs still to this day. Yeah. And Tom doesn't have a sense of urgency because he doesn't have a sense of urgency in his own personal life, and he's disconnected. So there's nobody there to say, no, there's no truce.
Okay, if you'd like to ask a question of Joe, have at it. We'll do a general discussion here, but if you would like to jump in, we'd love to talk to you. And I think Joe would like to talk to you. And, there are other choices in the election, just so you'll know.
Yeah, Ray, every day I'm on Facebook.
I know.
I interact with the public. We get some bruises, but,
I must do traffic to allow everybody to get home. All right, with us for a bit this afternoon, the man who was missing from the debate, but will be seen in the near future. Later in the month, October, on NBC Connecticut, and you have a CPTV that's coming up.
CPTV, 7 p.m.
Joe Benevenia, and if you do want to go to Visconti, I'm sorry.
Visconti, yeah, that's Italian.
I was in the right nationality, so I got that right. ViscontiForGovernor.com. That's ViscontiForGovernor.com. If you'd like to ask him a question, 800-966-WTIC, 522-WTIC, star WTIC. Let me go to Bill, who's over in Manchester. Go ahead and put those headphones on there, Joe, so you can hear what Bill's going to say. Can you hear me now?
No.
Oh, okay. There's a little knob down there.
That's okay. I can hear you talk.
Yeah, but you won't be able to hear Bill.
Here we go.
So there's a problem. Hey, Bill, you're on with Joe Visconti. What's up?
Hi, Joe. I'm actually looking forward to you on debating with the other guys. One thing I want to know is, are you going to be more forceful than Tom Foley? I mean, he looks like pudding today. I really want somebody to be able to give him quick comebacks and things like that, and he doesn't seem to be able to do that.
Yeah, a lot of this is training, and a lot of this is
Thanks, Bill.
A lot of this is preparing, Bill. I will, but I want to deliver a deliberate message of the state of Connecticut, finances, where we are, where we're going. I doubt the governor's going to try to pull what he pulls with Tom Foley with me, because it won't be pretty for him. And don't forget, at the end of the day, I always carry the threat of endorsing Tom Foley, which I could do at any time if I chose, and knock the governor out of the race.
Let me go back to the Quinnipiac poll for a minute, though. As you and I were talking, you drew from both sides. You drew from Foley and you drew from...
I actually did, and we did 9% Democrats, 6% Republicans, 10% women, only with 14% name recognition. So those debates last week I wasn't in, they kept my numbers down. But yes, Bill, I will... I want to deliver a message that's cogent, that talks about where we're headed, where we're going, with a plan, with a direction, with details. Tom hasn't delivered the details, never mind the snappy answers to Governor Malloy.
Yeah, I quite frankly, and maybe I shouldn't be saying it, but, I mean, he just seemed too laid back. I mean, hey, he's punching. I mean, he being Malloy. He can fight.
Yeah, well, he's a fighter, but you know what? Dan Malloy, his problem is his personality. And even though his plans are failed, most of them, the people would even forgive him if he was a nice guy. I've said this 100 times. But he's just a mean guy. That's not a public servant you heard today during that debate. That's a king yelling and barking orders.
If you'd like to talk to Joe Visconti, I've got questions and lines for you. 800-966-WTIC, 522-WTIC, star WTIC. Let's go to Chris in Windsor. Hey, Chris, thanks for being on.
How you doing?
Okay, buddy, what do you think?
I just wanted to make some comments on the whole Foley Malloy debate. Granted, Foley is as of a debater as Malloy is, but I mean, facts be told, Malloy's biggest problem is his record. He talks about all these great things that he's done, and everybody kind of goes away from all the money he's given to these companies. The gun bill he jumps up and down about, but realistically, it was all people who commit crimes with guns. I bet if you did those statistics, 90 to 100% of them are people that are illegally carrying guns.
All right, hey, thanks for your call. And
absolutely. The inner cities, the drug violence, the gangs, I mean, it still goes on. And that's where most of the murders, drive-by shootings are occurring. But, that wasn't convenient because they can't address it. The governor couldn't address that in the cities. And Mike Lawler's touting all these different numbers. But there's so much that's missing from those statistics. But the statistics can prove to an uninformed public something that's not true.
Hey, Joe, let me ask you a question. One of the things that Foley did bring up, and I think you say it on your website, as a matter of fact, and that's the sales tax.
Yeah, I invented the phase out of the 7-year sales tax. Tom was nice enough to grab a piece of my idea back in January, because my whole idea was a sales tax phase out over 7 years on products, because Connecticut is geographically located between New York with 9% sales tax, Massachusetts with 6%, and Rhode Island with 7%, and everyone comes here. So if we can find a way to cut spending, get our house in order, and start moving towards a sales tax phase out and tie it to GDP over time so that we don't ever lower it quicker than we're getting money back from the income tax and from corporate taxes, from sales of their products, then what happens is we're a perfect state to do this. We're not New Hampshire. We're right in the middle of all these places. So the idea Tom had came from Joe Visconti, but you know what? He messed my idea up, Tom,
But I mean, it is true, and you bring this up on your website.
Yeah.
Is that, in fact, the sales tax is regressive? I mean, the poorer you are, the bigger chunk of your
exactly. So if you're poor, inner city, you're having a hard time. Even if you're on welfare and you're buying something, you buy more of the product, and you get more bang for your buck. It's something that we need to look at. The income tax is huge.
All right, Joe, I'm going to take a short break here. More calls coming in. Okay. Oh, good. Ron and Joe, you guys hang on. 800-966-WTIC, 522-WTIC, star WTIC. Joe, this guy's going to stick around with us for a while. And yes, he is running for governor. Visconti, just ViscontiForGovernor.com. Simple. It is Talk 22, WTIC. Since he was left out of the debate, we thought we'd bring him in here today just for the heck of it. So maybe the candidates can listen to him on their way home. That's kind of fun. Joe Visconti is here, and Joe is running as a petitioning candidate. Anyway, 9% was the latest number he had, which I think is pretty impressive. You said you spent, what, $20,000?
We raised $20,000 in 18 months, and we have 9% and 10% of women. And we've been blocked out of debates, 5 debates so far. Get me on TV, I'm your next governor.
Why do you think that is? Why do you have 9%?
Because we've worked the street so hard the old way, like the people used to do politics. You go out and shake their hand, you work across the street. And the petitioning process, meeting 10,000 people,
Pretty impressive.
you have to talk to them and tell them what you stand for and convince them they don't know you from Adam.
Right.
And so you do that long enough, hard enough in the heat of winter, heat of summer, heat of winter.
Or the dead of winter, either
Dead
way.
of winter, yeah. 18 months, so it's been a long road, but it starts to gain power. So it's a little more television and radio. This is an eternity, almost 4 weeks to
Well, it's
the
name
election.
recognition. That's a very important thing, and that does help.
Well,
with
these
that.
guys are helping me too. I mean, they're both beating each other up. The public's turned off. These negative ads, folks at home, you're watching on TV, that was paid by you. That's right, almost $14 million of taxpayer money.
Okay, I've got somebody who wants to talk to you. I think it's a topic you've addressed because I see it here on your website, and that's small business. Ron from Tolland is with us for a few minutes this morning, or this afternoon. Hey, Ron, thank you for calling, and you're on with Joe Visconti.
Ray, first of all, thank you very much for bringing Joe on. I think that's wonderful. The people can get to talk to this guy.
Yeah, I think it should.
Joe, as you know, I am a huge fan of yours all the way from day one. I have one question. I'll hang up and listen to your response, Joe, if you would. How would you help the little person in business, Joe, who has nothing going for them? They can't survive in this state. They're closing down every day, the little guy. How would you help them out?
That's
Hand up, Joe, and Joe,
Right.
good luck to you.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Thanks for calling.
Geez, I think I recognize that voice. First of all, we have a program for welfare to work where we're going to actually force people that are long-term unemployment or on welfare to go to work and provide small businesses and large corporations with labor. They won't be an employee of the company. No more free money coming from welfare or long-term unemployment from the state of Connecticut. No month or 2 or 3 or 4 off. We're going to bring people that are sitting home, that are looking work, nervous, can't find a job, out to the small business owner to help. They can sign up for a program. And hopefully the legislature will write this. Consolidate a lot of fragmented programs that address this right now, where you're right out of the gate after 30 days of unemployment or on welfare, and if you're not an elderly or disabled and
If
but
you
you're
can't
an
work, in other
able-bodied
words.
person, correct. No more free money. Right away, we want to provide those services also to the municipalities' beautification programs and small business owners so they can get some help that they need. And we have to develop protection for workman's comp because they'll be on the job. But there's training, but we don't want this to become just educational training with never a job. Get to work, get a job. And
the American way.
You know what? Sweat equity.
Hey, Joe, just a quick question here. The governor mentioned the $10.10, of which he's so proud, the minimum wage hike. Where are you on that?
Wrong. And here's why. He tried to polarize people that are poor. Oh, my God, they don't want to give me $10. Well, you know what? I've worked for minimum wage before. I've hired people on minimum wage in construction. Here's what we need to do. And on my website, viscontiforgovernor.com, you'll see all about it. And that's called raising the safety net. So people, especially women that are trapped in a cycle of poverty, we let them keep their benefits and their insurances and the things they're getting and entitlements from the state as they go towards jobs that are $12, $15, $18, $24 an hour. We shrink the safety net and we raise it so that they don't get stuck in poverty because they can't get a job more than $10 an hour. So shrinking the safety net, keeping the benefits as long as possible, getting them smaller, it's called prorated. And this is what we need to do, prorate the benefits. That's what we have to be looking at rather than sticking to small business owners that are sweeping their own floors now because they can't afford a minimum wage guy at $10.10 because the guy at 12 wants 13.
Yeah.
And we're in a recession. This is the wrong idea at the wrong time.
All right, let's go to Dominic again. North Fairfield wants to talk about something else that looms large. And in fact, one of the more heated moments of the debate was, of course, over the Newtown law, the gun bills, and all that.
Sure.
Dominic, you're on. We have about 2 minutes, so we'll try and make it as good as possible. Go ahead.
Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Good.
Quick question on the SB 1160 that was signed by Malloy. We know a lot of it had nothing to do or pertained towards criminals, but there was one portion of the bill that Malloy had in the bill about criminal registration, where felons who committed a crime with a gun had to register themselves. If you're in front of Malloy, will you ask him if Malloy will register his son as a criminal?
Yeah, I won't go there. I don't bring personal family into these questions. You know, I carry a gun. I've carried for 30 years. The law was just unconscionable. They gamed a tragedy. The Mike Lawlers of the world that have an ideal to remove all guns from the world, and a liberal agenda is what this is all about. And I'll debate more of the issues during the debate, but the reality is I will not bring family and loved ones into the campaign.
Okay.
I'm sorry, sir.
It's 800. Well, yeah. 800-966 WTIC 522 WTIC star WTIC. Joe Visconti's with us. You're going to stick for a while, aren't you?
Sure. I've got nothing else to do.
You don't.
Right? I'm running
You
for
don't.
governor. I have nothing to do.
All right. Anyway, give us a call. Guys, you have to be patient because we're going to have to break for news, but it won't be long at all. Yeah, 35 WTIC News Talk 1080. I'm Ray Dunaway in for today only, and then it's the Computer Talk guys. Computer Talk with Tab coming up. In the studio, the man who was noticeably absent an hour ago. And not that he wanted to be, it's just the way it worked out is Joe Visconti, and he's here for a few minutes. Business trade, I mean, you were in building management, you're in all kinds of things.
Yeah, I started, I don't remember when the old man took me to work, back in the early 60s. My dad was a Marine and a builder, and we went into a large corporate work in the 1970s and 1980s, multi-million-dollar projects, homeowners, you name it, thousands of small business owner projects, building, renovations. Most people in Connecticut know who we are. And so I've seen it all. When you're working with the building inspector, and the Department of every department you can think of.
And
just comes
DEP,
up.
DEP, you got them all.
OSHA. I mean,
yeah.
so you have to navigate almost like state government.
Let's go. I would take some calls because these guys have been patiently waiting. Joe from West Hartford is on. First of all, Joe, thanks for calling and thanks for holding. And what do you want to ask Joe?
First off, I'd like to just thank Joe for bringing some fresh air to this debate. I think when you look at the fact that Governor Malloy is just a bully, and he acted that way, and Joe pointed that out, and finally, at the end of Tom Foley's remarks, he pointed it out, and this is the type of person who's governing us. Ray, a few days ago, you pointed it out when he wanted to be called Daniel when he was appointed governor or anointed governor or sworn in as governor, but now he's Dan again. I mean, this behavior is unbecoming of the executive branch of our government. And yet we have it here in Connecticut, and then we also have it in Washington, D.C. And, it doesn't surprise me that Obama's coming here to help Malloy raise money because, they're two peas in a pod.
Hey, Joe, thanks for your call. The whole thing that a couple of things. Number one, what you do learn, and I think it's true in Hartford, too, is there's inside, there's outside. If you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you're inside, that's where you are. It's like nobody comes from the outside and says, we've got to do this.
Yeah, Joe's right about the governor being a bully, and that's fear-based. The governor's not operating from any positions of strength, and Tom Foley doesn't understand that.
Yeah, we're going to take a break for traffic again, but we'll be back. Gary, Linda, you hang on up in Summers, and somebody else will ring it in. We'll go till 6. 5:42. We have a few minutes left with Joe Visconti. His website, viscontiforgovernor.com. And of course, he was, as I mentioned, one of the reasons we have him in is because he was left out of the debate. But you're getting considerable support out there. I mean, 9% is nothing to wolf at.
Oh, it's not. It's we're perfectly positioned for where we want to be right now.
Yeah.
And especially with
3 weeks though, that's a lot to make up.
Almost 4 weeks, and especially with the two other candidates pounding themselves into
There's that. Let's go to Gary's got a good question. Gary's in Canton. Hey, Gary, I'm glad you brought this up. What's your question?
Hey, Ray. How are you? And hello, Joe.
Oh,
Hey, I'm a conservative Republican, had 50 years, vote Republican, and full of leverage. You feel like 50 years were outnumbered 2-1 by Democrats. Jim, a month, 2 months ago, came up with the understanding or enlightened us that there's more independence in the state, and that they're really the power base that they came together. And independence really, a Republican dropped out or a Democrat dropped out and went independent. So I think if you go to the polls with that understanding, if the independents understood, that's a real power. It's not a negative.
Okay.
That's right. 840 or 850,000.
It's huge.
Unaffiliated. It's called unaffiliated. It's not independents. That's what I am. Unaffiliated. No party. All we need is 50% of the unaffiliated to come out for me, and I'm your governor. I don't need a Democrat or a Republican vote. And that's how powerful this is.
Where do you think the unaffiliateds lie politically?
They lie differently than they did a couple of years ago. What they're looking for, from what we've gathered, is they want to have that don't blame me, I'm not with either party, because they fear I have to defend one of these losers.
Yeah.
And this is what happens. The left or the right are losers, so they are in a safe zone. They're not necessarily on a fence. They're just in a zone where they want to be objective and just like go shopping and pick. And so they pick fruit from both sides of the aisle. That's what they do.
So we're telling you independents, you have another choice.
Unaffiliated, you have another choice, yeah.
Oh, unaffiliated.
Unaffiliated, yeah. They're called U's.
Okay.
If you're not registered with a Republican or Democrat or Green or Libertarian, you're a U.
Numbers are 800.
You are you. Sound like John Lennon. Hey, it's his birthday today.
It is. Is it? It
Tonight,
is. You're
tonight,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm good. Hey.
800-966 WTIC 522 WTIC star WTIC. I want to go to Linda up in Summers. Hey, Linda. Hi. How are you?
Greetings, Ray. You're doing a great job. And I was with Ray Visconti at the Hartford Club today honoring the conservative voice of Connecticut. And Joe Visconti, he's our man. If he can't do it, no one can. Nobody can get 10,500 votes in 7 weeks. And I, too, am unaffiliated, 1-800-US.
Okay. We don't need to do that because we got enough numbers.
Hey, Linda, how are you?
That was good. 800-966-WTI. She was actually on with Vicevich this morning.
Oh, yeah. I think she's running for...
I don't know what she's running for.
Is she replacing, or is she the candidate that's running for the lieutenant governor?
No. That's Heather Summers.
No.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm having a blank.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm having a blank. Come on, she ran for lieutenant governor. Come on, I know her like the back of my head. I can't think of the name. It'll come up.
We'll get more
Oh,
calls.
my God.
800-966.
She's going to kill me.
Well, I know. 800-966-WTIC, 522-WTIC.
Penny Bacchiacchi.
Oh, Penny Bacchiacchi. Let's go to Joe. Hey, Joe in Harwinton. How are things up in the hills today?
We're doing pretty good. Actually, pretty sunny and nice and cool. Hey, I had a few questions for you, Joe. I guess first question is, I love all your plans and stuff, but what is your plan to get it through the legislature? Since hopefully it won't be, but by and large, it's a Democrat-controlled legislature. I mean, some of those plans sound awesome, but the ones from the city are never going to go for it.
Well,
second question,
okay.
I just had two more questions. The other question I had was, again, I love what you're doing, but what's your plan on getting votes from people who probably would normally vote for Malloy, because a lot of the people that would have voted for Foley would probably vote for you, but what's your plan on getting votes from Malloy? And the third question is if elected, and hopefully when elected governor, what kind of basically disinfectant unit are you going to have to hire to get rid of the slime and stuff from Lawler's office?
All right, hey, Joe, thanks.
Wow. Okay, first of all, or second of all, I'm pulling more Democrat votes. That's your second question. Than Republicans right now. We're at 9%. I'm tied with Tom Foley, pulling 9% of Democrats. The first question, how do I get things done? By sharing the glory with the legislature, providing insights and ideas to the governor's office, letting them share, and also not firing every commissioner or every Democrat that's appointed. I don't need to go in and clean house. I'll sit with all the commissioners, and they can decide if they'd like to stay on with my policies.
Well, the commissioners got their vote now. It's 5:48 in WTIC. Driving over together on the 8s. I have time for a couple more calls. If you want to take your shot, 800-966-WTIC, 522-WTIC, star WTIC. David, Mike, you guys hang on. We're in all over the state. We have Glastonbury, Waterbury. Good. Hang on. All right. Kind of my 50,000 watt personal record player. Kind of on my little iPod here. It's 5:53. Joe Visconti is with us, and we are taking some calls from you guys. Just the premise of this whole thing was Joe was left out of the debate this time. So we said, why not? Let's hear from somebody else. Maybe some new ideas. Linda wants to ask you a question, Joe, so here we go. Linda from Manchester, go ahead.
Hi, Ray. Great show. Thank you. And thank you for letting us hear from Joe Visconti. It sounds like a breath of fresh air. One of the stuff being discussed much in the debate has to do with Common Core and the standardized testing. And I've talked to a lot of parents and a lot of teachers, and we're very concerned about it. And I know that Joe's talked about this. I've heard him speak on it. I wonder if he could give us his viewpoint on it.
Okay, we'll give you a short.
Sure, we'll give you the short viewpoints. We don't have a lot of time. Common Core, I will repeal it. I'll push it out. Parents don't want it. Teachers don't want it. Standardized testing, we always have had standardized testing. This is a failed government program that we got because we had the failed No Child Left Behind. We need to have teachers and parents and local control over our testing, state oversight with parental involvement, and especially teachers. On my website, viscontiforgovernor.com, you'll see a Washington Post article that shows this Common Core standards were not devised by any educators in that Washington Post article under Common Core. I go on for hours on it, but it's a loser. We're posing with teachers everywhere at fairs and festivals that are coming out. You'll see it on my Facebook wall where teachers actually have the courage.
I think there are a lot of teachers.
A few months ago, they were not that all in. Now they see it's bad. I want the parent, the teacher, and the child relationship to be sacrosanct. Computers, standardized tests are assistive. They're not the authority. We're not going to have a federal program that's detached from our local community telling us what to do. We know better.
Let me tell you, we've got one more here. I'm going to get David on. So, David, I think you're going to be it from Glastonbury. Go ahead.
Hey, I appreciate it, gentlemen. I'm listening, Joe. I love what you're saying. I really do. I just think that we as citizens have to do what's best for the state. If I thought, Joe, that you could get in, I would be helping and with your campaign as much as I can. I do like you better than the others, but I think that as responsible adults, we got to do what's good for the state. We got to get Malloy out of there at any cost.
All right, David, I think that's one of the strong points under, right?
It is. They're fearful right now. If I was in the debates last week, you'd see me up at 18 to 22 points. Watch next week and the following week in 2 debates. I'll clean everyone's clocks, and you'll see the numbers rise. And I think you'll feel confident. Think individually, don't think collectively. Right now, the way it stands, if I exited the race, Tom Foley loses by 8 points. It's the way it's going to be. Tom can't fight. I like him, but the people are looking for ideas, solutions, and they're not going to vote just against Dan Malloy.
No. And by the way, just any final thought, it's kind of like what they did in the debate.
Final thought is please vote your conscience, vote your pocketbook at home, look where we're going, and press all the candidates for information on their policies and ask Tom Foley what direction, what his plan is. Because if he's going to become governor, you need to know what his plans will be. No broad sound bites, detailed plans.
Wow. And if you'd like to know more about what Joe Visconti's all about, ViscontiForGovernor.com. You've just got about every issue up there. Access to health care. Access is not the same as health care.
Correct.
If you have a card, it doesn't necessarily mean anything's going to happen. Your little safety net thing, that's all up there.
You'll see a lot more in the next couple of weeks. We just had to keep some of it off because we're getting our ideas poached, and we don't have money to buy TV ads to tell you our ideas.
All right. Public sector unions, judicial reform, sales tax. It's all there if you want to go. And the tourism aspect you were talking about.
Absolutely.
All right, Joe Visconti. So it's ViscontiForGovernor.com. Joe, thanks for coming
Thanks
in.
for having me on, Ray.
I'm glad to give you the shot.
Yeah.
People need to hear as many as they possibly can.
Don't forget to vote November 4th.
There you go. It's 5:57, and I know who you'd like to